Let's start with Up in the Air. What's it about, Ben?
Up in the Air is the story of a guy who goes around the country firing people. Hired, it's George Clooney, hired by other companies to lay off significant numbers of people. And he works for a big firm, and they go around the country laying people off. And sort of he has developed a lifestyle in the process of doing that that has enabled him to sort of be cut off from sort of intimate human contact. Sort of that's how he's able maybe to give people this horrible, life-changing news that they get. And so, he's the star of it, and he meets Vera Farmiga along the way. They develop a little relationship, and it's some human contact with him. And against that backdrop is sort of changes going on at his company. Anna Kendrick plays a young executive sort of who wants to make that process of firing people even more horrible and distant and remote than it already is by doing it online. So you wouldn't even, nobody would even tell you to your face that you've been fired. You'd be sitting in front of a computer and learn that you've been laid off. That's the story of the movie and his sort of emotional development as that goes on.
All right. How about we start with Matt? What did you think of it?
You know, actually, this movie really kind of threw me. I was really enjoying it for the most part, and to sum it up, really, the last 20 minutes or so, it kind of fell apart for me. You know, my personal feeling is that for the most part, the stuff that all happened at the airport was the sharpest, strongest stuff in the movie. And then kind of the more
he loves to travel. He travels constantly, and he loves the sort of elite status and how you get through the security line quickly, and how you get your coffee and keep your bag, how you pack, all the travel stuff.
Right, and as a study in efficiency, it's hilarious and really sharp. And as he's training Anna Kendrick, here's why you do things, and kind of the profiling as to why you follow certain people through security was really sharp and really funny. But I felt like the emotional stuff, you know, as far as him dealing with relationships and learning to kind of be a real person, got a little weak. And then the ending of it totally threw me for this loop that, you know, days later, I'm still not really sure how I feel about it.
That's interesting. I didn't mind the ending, but, you know, it won the National Board of Review Best Picture of the Year. So now it's getting Oscar consideration.
There are a number of critics who have already put it as their top movie of the year, at least so far.
Wow. Okay, so I'm curious what you thought, Ben. Did you like it, love it? What was your and did you have the concern about the ending?
Well, the ending is a surprise. It is certainly not really the ending you see coming. I will say that it stayed with me a couple of days later. I would overall say that was a good thing, that it was an unexpected, but I understand. It took a different tone in those last 20 minutes.
You know, and on a certain level, I wonder with me that I felt, you know, without giving too much away, I find the ending to be, on a certain level, extremely tragic. And it might be just me emotionally rejecting that the way his character ends up, in my interpretation of it, that's what I have a problem with.
Well, you know, that's interesting because I like the ending in terms of what happened, and it actually didn't throw me for a loop. I thought that's what was going to happen. Okay, because I'm a savvy movie guy.
Yeah, look at you. I knew that was going to happen. I saw that coming. I knew Bill Belichick was going to go for it on fourth down, and I knew he wasn't going to make it.
Right, and I knew Bruce Willis was dead. I knew it all along. All right. Anyway, so I saw it coming, but. I felt like they didn't quite end the movie. So I have a different problem with the ending. Like, it just kind of left it there like, oh, okay, so there was no kind of conclusion.
Well, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that kind of ending. I'm a big fan of it in The Sopranos. I'm a big fan of it in Cheers, two finales of major series that drew some criticism. Again, we don't want to give the ending away, and it could go a lot of directions, so I don't think we are. But it is surprising, and it is a little bit... There's no definitive stamp on it. There's certainly no definitive stamp on it. What you're left with is wondering what's going to happen to George Clooney's character, Ryan Bingham, the next day.
Right, and I don't want anybody to freak out, like, oh my God, what's going to happen at the end?
There's no plane crash. Right, it's nothing like that. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Well, and I think part of my issue too is that I felt like with the way the ending goes and the tone of kind of the third act of the movie, in that, you know, if you've been watching a lot of the promotional material for this and seeing the trailers, I feel like they give a much different sense of the way the movie's going to end up. If you go in thinking this is going to be kind of the light, frothy holiday movie, that's not what this is.
Well, you know, I don't want to get too much onto that point, but it's such a good one that I have to mention it. I just saw a movie today that we're not reviewing called Everybody's Fine with Robert De Niro and Kate Beckinsale and Sam Rockwell and Drew Barrymore. And it appears to be, based on the posters and everything, this sort of guy, a father who's on his own, and his kids, none of them come home for the holidays, so he sets out to go to them. and you think this is going to be a holiday family coming together movie, oh my God, it's not.
Okay.
And so, and it's really misrepresentative, those trailers, and I think that's a little bit true here. And they've been doing that a lot, and I mentioned it on At the Movies when I was doing that for a good part of a year. A lot of movies, the trailer's clearly designed just to get people into the theaters, and they don't care at all that they're going to deliver a totally different movie than what you expect from those trailers.
Now, having said all that, don't get us wrong. It was a fun movie.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like at least 2/3 of it, but I think almost all of it was a fun movie. It was great writing. You know, it was clever. I laughed. I enjoyed it. My problem was the opposite. Like, I thought at the time, I'm really enjoying this movie, but unlike you guys, it didn't stay with me. I thought, like, okay, I enjoyed that movie, but yeah, it's not going to make my top 100. It's not going to make my top 200. It's just going to be a solid movie.
Well, that's the other thing, is I feel like, you know, with all the buzz that's happening about it, really this is kind of just a kind of small personal story about one guy, really, right? And it's not an epic. It's not the most important movie of the year. It's a solid film, but I think a lot of people are expecting this movie to be a much bigger, more important movie than it really is.
Right, so I kind of want to manage your expectations, because you're not going to enjoy the movie if you think it's going to be like the greatest thing on earth, and then it turns out it's just a nice movie, right? Because I'm shocked that they're considering it for an Oscar. I mean, I liked it, but I'm shocked at it.
No,
Oscar.
you're both wrong. This is an excellent movie.
All right. Here we go.
This is an excellent film. It is a small story. There is a bigger picture to it. I mean, especially right now in light of the economic situation we're in. He works. George Clooney's character works for this big company, and at one point, I'm going to paraphrase, but his boss, Jason Bateman, says, we're looking at massive layoffs in Detroit. The recession is skyrocketing. The Dubai is falling apart. The dollar's worth nothing. This is going to be a great time for us. because people are going to get fired, and it's awesome. And we see that, as we've seen, that in these sort of times of massive economic stress and hardship, is incredibly profitable for some people, and an incredible sort of, and it has been an incredible lift for some people. Another great thing they did in this movie, aside from the fact that it has two of maybe my top leading man working now, and maybe my top leading lady working now. I mean, I'll go see a Vera Farmiga movie. I just go. I don't care what it is.
Wow, that's strong talk.
I think she's excellent in everything that I've seen her in. If she got a late break in life, sort of with The Departed, she'd worked before that, but that was a big breakthrough role for her when Martin Scorsese gave her that part. Anna Kendrick plays the young executive who wants to fire everybody over the internet over a T1 line. I didn't like New Moon or Twilight. She plays the friend in Twilight, Kristen Stewart's friend. I thought she stole Twilight. I said it in my review. I thought, this Anna Kendrick, I don't know if she is. She's great, and I think she's great again here. So I think 3 performances elevated. I don't know whether it's the best movie of the year. I would say it's not, because I already can think of movies that are better. But I think it's a top-notch,
well,
really
and I see
film.
where you're going, though, because with the acting performances, I mean, yeah, Vera Farmiga is fantastic, and the part is really well written for her.
Really well written.
The Anna Kendrick part is great, and she really, really fulfills what
By
that
the way,
part
director
needs.
Jason Reitman wrote it with Sheldon Turner also getting the credit.
Okay.
Right, and Clooney's fantastic. This is a really good role for him. Unlike a lot of times where we kind of see him being like the slick romancer, one of the nice things about this is in this film you actually kind of see him play a character that falls for someone. And you do go on that journey with him, and it really drags you along, which is one of the more engaging things I think happens in this film.
All right, so for the first time, we're going to actually rate the movies, okay? I got my rating ready. I'm going to deliver.
The rating is a very simple rating, out of 10. Any number out of 10, any whole fraction, whatever you want, out of 10.
That's right. And like my sense of like, for me, an 8 is like, okay, that's a kick-ass movie. You got to go see it in the theaters, right? But a 6 is a movie I would go to see in the theaters because I love movies, right? So on that scale, I give it a 7.5. Okay, so I really liked it, but it didn't like go over the thing of like, oh, you got to go see this movie. So I felt it was a 7.5. What do you think?
I'm kind of there with you. I think it's a really solid film. I think it's something people should see. Being that we're doing numbers, I'm going to go with Boeing's recent plane and go 7.77.
7.77. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give up in the air an 11.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm going to give it an 8.5. It's an excellent movie. It is certainly, if I were to make a list of the 10 best movies of this year, and of course there are 10 Oscar nominations now. Right now, not having seen a bunch of stuff to come out later this month, it certainly would crack my top 10.
All right, so to summarize, that's a solid-ass score. Okay,
It's a good movie. Go see it.
Yeah,
if you like movies, come on.
Yeah, if
Come
you
on.
like movies, you're not really going to go wrong.
And you like to travel, by the way, if you care at all about traveling. It's a great travel movie.